loud. Hopefully that's recording. Okay, right. So Neal's Yard and the history of Neal's Yard. And I'm going to be talking about the history of the company, Neal's Yard Remedies, as well as the history of Neal's Yard, the place, as well. Because, of course, you know, we do tend to get a bit lazy, don't we? And I'm guilty of this myself. We tend to say Neal's Yard. And what we mean by that, of course, is the company and the products. But actually, Neal's Yard, guys, is a place. It's a courtyard in London's Covent Garden. And it's actually one of my happy places. I've got to be really honest. It is one of my absolute favourite places in the world. I've been fortunate enough to have travelled quite extensively before I had my kids, and I've lived and worked in many different countries in the world. And Neal's Yard, Covent Garden, is still one of my absolutely sort of top 10 places on the planet. If you haven't been, I appreciate we're all from, you know, everybody's from all different areas of the UK. If you haven't been, and once all this COVID nonsense is over and we are able to travel a bit more, get yourself to Neal's Yard in Covent Garden. It is an explosion of colour. It is the most crazy, bonkers, artisan kind of place you will ever come across. And of course, it's lovely to visit the original Neal's Yard Remedies shop, which sits right in the heart of the yard. So Neal's Yard, essentially, as I've just said, is a courtyard in the WC2 area of London, which is the sort of Theatreland area of London now, Covent Garden, as I've said. And it's actually named after Thomas Neal. Now, Thomas Neal was an architecture who lived sort of, oh gosh, in like the 17th century. I don't have exact dates, I'm afraid. He lived in the 17th century, and he was gifted a big area in London, the Covent Garden area, by King William III. He gifted Thomas Neal that area of London, which is pretty nice, huh? It's a nice gift. For many years, right up until fairly recently, really, that area of London was mainly used to support the Covent Garden market, because, of course, the Covent Garden market has been going for hundreds of years. It is still going to this day, as I'm sure you know. So that area of London was very much warehouses, was, you know, store facilities, was waste facilities to support the market. Actually, there's quite a lot of streets and lanes and things called Neal in the area. There's Neal Street, which is a very famous, very cool, funky street. It's got Urban Decay on it now. It's got MAC Cosmetics, you know, you name it, all the cool kind of, you know, brands are on Neal Street now. There's a Neal Lane. And then, of course, there's a Neal's Yard, which we know and love. So the whole area is very much kind of set its roots in Thomas Neal, who was the man who kind of, you know, built the area up, as I said, because before that it had just been wasteland, really. And he was gifted it by the king, as I said. Over the years, while it was being used, you know, to support the market, the Neal's Yard, the actual courtyard, really kind of fell into disrepair. It really did. And in fact, for a long time, and I'm talking hundreds of years, it actually was used almost as a waste area. So actually, it was overrun by bins and waste. And obviously, back in the day, it was completely overrun with rats. And it really was a sort of fairly disgusting, smelly, run-down area of London, where it really wasn't on the map. It certainly wasn't anywhere where the gentry and all the nice people in London would go. They probably didn't even know about it. It's very much hidden. Even today, I've got to be honest, you need to know where you're going to get to the yard. It's not really somewhere you just stumble across, not unless you're really going down the back alleys and things. It is quite hidden, which is one of the things I love about it and why I think it's so magical. It's not on the main drag. You do have to kind of go down these little alleys to find it, which is why I love it. So as I say, it fell into kind of disrepair. It stank. It was, you know, bins and rats and all the sort of horrible disgustingness. And I'm talking, you know, right up to sort of the 60s, really, and early 70s, it was like that. And actually, it was due to be completely demolished. It was set to be completely demolished, and they were going to kind of start rebuilding on the area, when a man called Nicholas Saunders stepped in. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about Nicholas Saunders, because he really is the man that we have to thank for the Neal's Yard, both the place and the Neal's Yard Remedies that we have today. And I'll explain a little bit why. Now, without going into too much detail, Nicholas Saunders, and I'm going to try and find a picture on my phone, and I just really hope it works. Because of the glare, I'm not sure it's going to. I'm actually sitting in my conservatory and the lighting is not brilliant. This is a picture I found. Can you guys see that or not really? Thumbs up if you can. Not really. I can see Holly. Yeah, okay. There's a picture basically of a very bad picture, admittedly. This was taken in the early 70s, so clearly, not a digital camera or anything. That is Nicholas Saunders. And he actually was a travel writer by trade. He had quite a funky job, actually. It's sort of thing that I would love to do. He travelled Europe in a camper van. That was kind of what he did. And he wrote about interesting places that he fell upon and discovered. And he put them into travel books. And those travel books sold quite well. He then sort of came back to, he was British, he came back to London and sort of settled in London. And he came across Neal's yard, the desolate, smelly courtyard. And he kind of fell in love with its charm. And he obviously was a bit of a visionary. He could see that it had potential. He could see that it could really be something quite amazing. And so he kind of set to work and he fought and fought and fought against the authorities to keep it so that it wouldn't become demolished. He also decided that he wanted to get a group of people sort of there together to not only clean up the yard, but to kind of create a little bit of a community, a bit of a hub going on. He set up Neal's Yard Whole Foods. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard of Neal's Yard Whole Foods. It's a health food shop, and they still sell Neal's Yard Whole Foods rather today. And he really wanted, he was a bit of a hippie, let's be honest. He was a bit of a hippie. We're in the early 70s. But he wanted to make a really sort of accessible Whole Foods shop that normal people could go to, where they wouldn't feel patronised, where they wouldn't feel that only the hippy dippy types would attend, and that they could go, they could ask questions, they could, literally say, what are those beans? What do they do? How do I cook them without feeling stupid? And he wanted to kind of create this really healthy place where people could go and cook from scratch with really genuine, organic, healthy ingredients. Now, bearing in mind, this was kind of 1972, 1974. The word organic was not a trendy one back then like it is now. So he really, as I said, was a bit of a visionary. So he set up Neal's Yard Whole Foods, and that started in 1976, and it literally went from strength to strength. And he started getting many customers coming and visiting the shop, and therefore visiting the yard. And gradually over time, little shops and cafes started kind of popping up in and around Neal's Yard Whole Foods in the yard. They had some seating areas outside, which they still do to this day. I love going actually and sitting in the middle of the yard round one of the barrels and having a coffee or something. So they had some seating areas outside. They painted the walls some vibrant, funky colours. I'll show you some pictures in a minute if I can. If not, guys, Google Neal's Yard Covent Garden and you will see what I mean. If you haven't been, it is just amazing. It's just this incredible pop of colour, and if you're not in a good place, if you're not feeling particularly happy, go and sit in the middle of Neal's Yard, because I guarantee you'll start feeling happier after staying there for a while. So like I say, so Nicholas Saunders was kind of doing his thing, and he was absolutely passionate about that area of London, about kind of rejuvenating and renovating that area. And that is where Romy Fraser comes along. Now, Romy Fraser was a friend of Nicholas Saunders, and Nicholas Saunders guaranteed Romy Fraser a bank loan to start Neal's Yard Remedies. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about Romy Fraser. She is the lady that was in that picture that I posted the other day when I was talking about, does anyone, want me to do this training? I hope you all saw that. If not, it's that one there. Again, really bad lighting, guys. I'm really sorry, but I hope you can kind of see what I mean. It's the black and white picture of Romy and her colleague outside the original shop in 1981 when it opened. Now, Romy was a teacher by trade. She was a teacher, but she was also, again, a bit like Nicholas. She was a bit of a visionary, a bit of a hippie, I've got to say, and I mean that in the nicest sense of the word. And she was very, very passionate about holistic living, about alternative living, and about the fact that not everything had to be medicalized. She was, and still is to this day, incredibly passionate woman about all things alternative and about all things organic. And it was on a holiday, I believe, to France, when she was sort of seeing these lovely natural, I can never say this word, apothecaries in France. They were a lot more popular in France, where you could go and you could buy herbs and you could kind of blend them with things, and you could get some advice. You know, what could I take for my migraine? What can I take for my PMT, whatever it might be, and you could get some advice, and it was much more normal in France than it was in the UK at that time. And she was completely inspired to do something similar in the UK. It was completely unheard of in the UK at the time, as you can imagine. So although she had trained to be a teacher and her passion is very much in teaching, she kind of wanted to go down this avenue. She felt, in a way, she has since said in interviews, that it was a bit like her calling, and that she, you know, she felt like she needed to set this up, that nothing else existed like it, and she needed to set up an apothecary. So with her friend Nicola Saunders, who was running the Neal's Yard Whole Foods, help and support, she got a bank loan of £18,000, and she set up shop in one of the empty units in Neal's Yard, which Nicholas helped her kind of, you know, clear. Everything in there was completely reused. So they had an old piece of wood, which served for a long, long time as the counter, as the shop counter. Great big, massive piece of wood, which had come off a ship that had sunk. Everything in there, from, I don't know, the shelves to, you know, to where people could wait. There was like a waiting section out the back. Everything was completely made with sort of, you know, reclaimed, reused products. And Romy really set to work, and it very much had Neal's Yard Apothecary, as it was called at the time, very much had two parts to it. So it had the herbs and the spices that she was selling, and you can still buy herbs and spices in some of our shops, particularly the Neal's Yard in Covent Garden, Neal's Yard Remedies in Covent Garden, I should say. But she also started making her own toiletries, as she calls them, her own skincare products, because, again, she was very passionate about organic skincare and the fact that you just didn't need to buy, you know, the products of the day. So at the time, things like Clarins were very, very popular. Helena Rubinstein's products were popular, Yves Saint Laurent, etc. And Avon, of course, has been going since the 50s. But, of course, all these products, well known and as good as they are loaded with chemicals. And she wanted an alternative, non-chemical alternative. So she started blending these lovely herbs and these lovely ingredients out the back of the shop. There was a very, very small space out the back of the Covent Garden store. And that is where she set to work, sort of blending her oils and creams and lotions and potions. And she started making just a very, very small amount of face creams, lotions, cleansers, etc., to sell in the shop, alongside the herbs, which were more for sort of health. So she kind of, like, she's always seen it as two parts. There was more of a health section, and then there was more of a beauty section. And well, frankly, things went from strength to strength. Within 3 years, she had paid off the bank loan completely. Her bank manager then suggested to her that maybe she would like to have another loan so that she could expand the business, because it was just flying. And it was all done by word of mouth. You know, Neal's Yard Remedies, up until very, very, very recently, actually haven't advertised. They have not advertised in the press, or obviously more recently in social media. And Romy Fraser never advertised. It was all word of mouth. So somebody would come to her because they had maybe had a, I don't know, a problem with, say, eczema, and she would find something for them which really helped, possibly cured it, or certainly helped. They would then tell the next person who would come along. Somebody would come because they had, I don't know, a problem with their, like I say, migraine, or whatever it might be. And before they knew it, there was literally queues out the door. So her bank manager saw this and suggested that maybe she sort of open a second shop. And she hadn't really considered the idea of sort of a second or a third shop. But what she did decide to do at that time, and I'm now in 1986, she then decided, because the first shop, I should have said, sorry, opened in December 1981. So they opened the doors and started trading on the 6th of December 1981 in Covent Garden. Scroll forward a few years, she's paid off her bank loan. We're now early 1986. And she decided that there really was no more room out the back of the shop anymore to be producing the quantity that she needed to produce for the whole supply and demand thing. There was massive demand for her products. So she rented a warehouse in Balham, which is in southwest London. Those of you that know London, Balham is in southwest London. And she rented a warehouse, and that became the area where a lot of the production was done. So that really became, if you like, our first factory, for want of a better word, our warehouse, storehouse. And she had the actual sort of shop, which was open to customers still in Covent Garden. At around the same time, one of the people that was working for her moved to Oxford, and they decided to open a shop in Oxford, a Neal's Yard shop in Oxford. And it was effectively the first franchisee. So, because we do have some franchise shops as well as shops that we own, and the one in Oxford became the first franchisee. Quite soon after that, another one opened, and you get the picture. It literally just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And Romy just did amazingly well. I think it became so much bigger than she ever thought it ever could be. She's very, very passionate about education. So at the heart of everything she did lied education, which is why we are still so big on education. If you go to nealsyardremedies.com, you will see on the website a big section on our courses, because of course we do so many courses. And I don't just mean courses for consultants. I'm talking about, for anybody, for any member of the public. You can go and you can learn about everything from, to be an aromatherapist, or you could just do a half-day course in natural perfumery, for example, or blending your own herbs, or making your own face mask, or whatever it might be. Now, obviously, COVID has put a stop to all the physical courses, but they are currently being run online where they can be. It's not quite the same, admittedly, but they are still running some. But the education part of Neal's Yard Remedies was set up by Romy Fraser, because she is all about education. She still is, and she really wanted that to be part of it. Now, for those of you, there may be some of you on here, I don't know, that like me have been lucky enough to do some training days in Covent Garden. We rent the training room above the original shop, so you've got the beautiful original shop in the heart of Neal's Yard, which throws its doors open, so the doors completely open, and then you've got the stone steps down into the yard itself. And quite often they have sort of samples of little tea or something yummy that they've made, that they've got right outside the shop, and you can go and taste and sample it. It's really lovely. Then you can wander into the shop, and they've got all these gorgeous they've got old pictures on the walls that you can look at. They've got really lovely blue glass bottle displays and all sorts of stuff. It's just a really lovely shop to go and have a poke around. About 2 years ago, they had a complete refurbishment of it, and now it just looks even better than it ever has done. And I love going in because I just like trying everything, because even now, nearly 8 years on, there's still the odd product that maybe I haven't tried, or I haven't tried for a long time, or and I like to go in and have a sniff and a play. Obviously, I don't buy anything in the shop, because I'd be crazy too. I come back and I place the order with my discount, of course, on my online shop. But above it, directly above our shop in Neal's Yard, we have the Wild Food Cafe. Now, if and when you go to Neal's Yard, guys, eat at the Wild Food Cafe, you'll be doing yourself a massive favour. The food is incredible. It is completely raw, completely wild, completely organic, and completely delicious. It is so, so yummy, and it's where I treat myself to lunch if I'm ever doing a course there. So you've got the shop, you've got the Wild Food Cafe on the first floor, and on the second floor is these beautiful, light, airy training rooms. Now, we don't own the training rooms. Neal's Yard Remedies do not own the training rooms. It is actually owned by a little old lady who has owned those rooms for years and years and years, but she's lovely, and she allows us to have a certain amount of time, if you like, per month that we can rent from her and do a lot of our training in there. And we've got a store cupboard in there where we keep our bits and pieces, and she lets us do that. And it's lovely going to training there, because we have all our lovely herbal teas and the kettle, and you go in and you make yourself, your chosen tea. And if it's Suzanne Colston Lynch, who's our company trainer, she normally buys some lovely little, flapjacks or whatever it might be, and you help yourself to a flapjack and you take your seat, and all the training that is done there. And it's just so lovely. I've lost count of the amount of times I've been there, because I just absorb it. I just want to learn as much as I possibly can. And cheesy as it sounds, if you learn you earn. The more you know, the more passionate you are, and believe me, the more money you make. And I'm testament to that. And what I love about it is the windows are like these really lovely old-fashioned windows that are kind of thrown open. So they throw open the windows, and you've got these lovely little little garden boxes outside each window, which have got lovely colourful flowers growing from them and everything. And they open the windows, and you can see down into the yard below. So you can see the hustle and bustle of what's going on in the yard below. And I don't think I have ever been to Neal's yard training where the Hare Krishnas haven't come round. The Hare Krishnas come round in their orange robes, banging their drums and everything, and their tambourines, and they come round chanting and everything every day pretty much, because the Hare Krishna temple is right near there in Covent Garden. And it's just lovely. You know, we might have to stop training momentarily because they're quite noisy, the Hare Krishnas, but it's just this incredible energy. You know, there's so many different people, so many different cultures, all mingling in this really quite small yard. It really is amazing, and it's just buzzing. There's the Neal's Yard Coffee Company there now. There's Fairy, which is this really cool hair salon there. It's called Fairy, and Fairy don't do your normal cut and blow dry. Oh no. You only go to Fairy if you want your hair dyed green, or if you want your hair dyed purple, or if you want some blue streaks put in it or something. You know, Fairy do really wacky hair colours. If you haven't heard of Fairy, then look them up. They're brilliant. And so it's a really lovely cafe actually on the edge of the yard as well, and they do the most gorgeous food, and they do these really lovely sort of I call them bombs, like little sort of treats in little round circles. The name escapes me, but you know, they're really healthy, but they taste incredible, and all these kind of things. And there's the Neal's Yard Travel Company as well in the other corner. So every single unit is now full, and hopefully hasn't been too badly affected by the pandemic. I pray it hasn't. And then there's fairy lights everywhere. So when you're in the yard, literally everywhere you look is fairy lights. So not only is it brightly coloured, but you've got the lights. And as the sun goes down into the evening, the lights come on, and it really, really is quite magical. I'm trying to find you. So that is a picture, and again, it's probably not going to show you very well at all. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Probably not. Do yourselves a favour, guys. Google Neal's Yard Covent Garden images, and then go to images and have a look, and you will see the kind of things I'm talking about. And you know, you'll see the lovely sort of 3-4 story buildings, and the education room, as I've said, is on the second floor above the shop. Now, the lovely thing about working with Neal's Yard Remedies, as we all do, is our training is free. So obviously tonight, for example, you haven't paid to be on this Zoom call, but also the company do put on free training as well. Now, again, COVID have put paid to an awful lot of stuff this year, but when it's all done and dusted, when the pandemic is a distant memory, and they start doing courses at London's Covent Garden again, get yourself there. I don't care if you live in Edinburgh, I don't care if you live in Penzance, get yourself to a Covent Garden training. Now, but for health and safety reasons, and because the room is very, very small there, we can normally only hold up to 30 people, and you can imagine how quickly they book up. They literally book up within hours of launching. Book yourself onto a training day there, organise your life afterwards, and don't know who that was, and get yourself there. Even if you have to make a day of it, a week of it, a weekend of it, get yourself to one of the training sessions, because they are invaluable, and you will start feeling like you really are part of something much, much bigger. I've totally gone off on a tangent. I just really wanted to paint a picture of Neal's Yard itself, because it is so special. It really is so, so special. Sadly, Nicholas Saunders died in 1998, and he was only 60 years old. There is actually a plaque in Covent Garden to him, which says, I'm going to find it if I can, although you probably won't be able to see it, but it literally says, Nicholas Saunders, 1938 to 1998, he put Neal's Yard on the map, and he certainly did. He really did put Neal's Yard on the map. He was an incredible man, a real visionary, and a very dear friend to Romy Fraser. So as I said, so we're now kind of mid-80s. They've opened the second shop in Oxford, then they start gradually opening more and more all over the country, both owned by Neal's Yard and also, sorry, I'm just admitting some more people, and some franchises as well. And it was going from strength to strength. By the time it got to 2005, Romy really felt like she had come as far as she possibly could, really, with Neal's Yard Remedies as a business. She felt like she'd done what she set out to do, and she really felt the calling to kind of go back to her roots, her teaching roots. She really wanted to teach and to actually be a teacher, and to go and sort of, and to do that. So she actually sold all but 15% share in the company to Peter Kindersley. Peter Kindersley, of course, is our current owner, and she sold Neal's Yard Remedies in 2005 for £10 million to Peter Kindersley. A lot of money, huh? Now, Peter Kindersley, I should say actually at this point, Romy, with the money, Romy bought a really beautiful organic farm called Trill Farm, which is near Axminster in Devon. And she went down there and set up this beautiful farm. And again, make a note and Google Trill Farm. And Trill Farm is beautiful. And again, it's a real initiative. So she's got other people down there, and they're all kind of working on the farm, doing different things, making everything from soap to candles to working with the land. It's all completely organic, of course. And they do a lot of education down there, which is of course what she wanted. She wanted to very much be an educator and a teacher. And she's lived there pretty much since I think 2007, when she finally moved down there with her dog. And she's got a partner who lives in London, but he does visit at the weekends. Now, and that is how it's been right up until the present day. Although I did hear a whisper that because of her age, she is actually stepping back from Trill Farm. And as of last month, I believe, she is taking a real step back, and she's not going to be as actively involved with the day-to-day running of Trill Farm. So, but she's an old lady now, as you can imagine. She's an old lady now, but she's an incredible woman, Romy Fraser. She really is. And if it wasn't for her, we would not be on this Zoom call tonight. Neal's Yard Remedies just would not exist. So 2005, she sold Neal's Yard Remedies to Peter Kindersley. Now, Peter Kindersley was very well known in the publishing world, and I'm sure many of you know that Peter Kindersley is, of course, well known for the Dorling Kindersley books. I hope you all know that. That is where he made his money, and that is what he is known for. So the Dorling Kindersley, or the DK books, as they are often known, are incredibly well known worldwide, as I'm sure you know. Now, Peter and his lovely wife, they are absolutely passionate, and always have been, about organic living, organic farming, the organic lifestyle, and again, about not everything needs to be medicalized, not everything needs to be corporate, not everything needs to be mainstream. Do you know what I'm saying? Peter is a businessman, blah, 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 first and foremost, but he is absolutely passionate about all things organic. I am lucky enough to know Peter. I have been, I've listened to him on more than one occasion, hearing him talk about Sheepdrove, which is his organic farm in Berkshire. I've been lucky enough with several leaders to have visited Sheepdrove on more than one occasion. They used to throw open Sheepdrove every Christmas, and we were all invited. So it was usually around sort of the 12th, 13th of December. We were all invited for a really lovely organic Christmas lunch at Sheepdrove. And it was one of the highlights of my year, I've got to be honest with you. It was beautiful. We would go down there, me and a gang of girls in the car. We would just have the most delicious food that you could possibly eat. We would mix with the Kindersley family, look around Sheepdrove, which is the most beautiful place. I remember once being there in the snow. You can imagine, it's December, they've got their Christmas tree up, they've got decorations everywhere, the lights, and it had been snowing, in the middle of Berkshire. And just beautiful, and just eating the most incredible food that was cooked by their chefs. Unfortunately, due to various things that I won't go into, they don't do that anymore, which is a real shame. But I do feel that, I'm so lucky to have had those experiences. I know I'm lucky to have been at the, Covent Garden training rooms, to have been to Sheepdrove. And all I'm saying to you guys is, if and when you ever get the opportunity to go to Covent Garden, to go to Peace Marsh, which I'll come to, that's our new HQ, or to go to Sheepdrove, go. you know, do yourself a favor. They are incredible places. And Peter is just this incredibly passionate person. In fact, you know, I've met a lot of passionate people in my life. I really have. And I consider myself to be fairly passionate myself. But Peter probably is one of the most passionate people I have ever spoken to. He is just so engaging. He believes in the cause so much. It's just quite incredible. He co-owns Neal's Yard Remedies along with his son, Barnabas, who's a lovely man, and Barnabas's wife, Annabelle. So Barnabas and Annabelle, obviously being a little bit younger than Peter. Peter is going to be 80 next year. Barnabas and Annabelle are obviously a little bit younger than that, in their 50s, and they very much are taking the helm now. Peter is stepping back a little bit. His wife is trying to get him to slow down and take it easy in his twilight years, and Barnabas and Annabelle are very much taking the helm, as it were. And you will see Annabelle, actually, she is in the cover of the catalogue. If you open our catalogue, that's Annabelle there. Annabelle is a natural therapist. She is a therapist, and what I love about Annabelle is she's a working therapist as well. So she actually does work in some of the Neal's Yard Remedies treatment rooms. I can't remember exactly which one it is.
Yes. Okay. The only other one
happening, guys, I do need you all to be muted. Please do mute when you come in. Thank you. So Annabelle is a working therapist, and that's what I love so much about her. They've got 2 teenage kids, so she's a mom, and she's a working mum. She works part-time as a therapist, so she's really hands-on with her customers, with her clients, but she's also a co-owner of one of the biggest British brands as well. And interestingly, little fact for you, her best friend is Jade Jagger. Jade Jagger, as I'm sure you all know, is Mick Jagger's eldest daughter. So they grew up together in Richmond, and they are very, very close. And the last time I saw Annabelle, I haven't seen her for quite some time, what with my pregnancy last year and COVID and this year. But the last time I saw Annabelle, I'm sure she won't mind me telling you this, she was absolutely hanging. She was literally hanging. And I was like, are you okay? She was like, oh, I'm really doing my best. I'm really doing my best, but I am not feeling good. And it's because she'd been out partying with Jade the night before. So they are really real people. They are amazing people. I love them to bits. We get on really well. They get on well with all the leader team, and they're so supportive, and they're so genuine, and they're so real. And what I love about Neal's Yard Remedies is the fact that we are family owned. We haven't sold out to Estee Lauder. We haven't sold out, you know, to the big guys like several other brands have, naming no names. We are family owned, and we really are. We're owned by Peter, Barnabas, and Annabelle. And so going back to sort of Peter and his vision. So as I said, Peter comes from a publishing background, and you may know that DK, the DK books, I don't know if they still are, in fairness, but for a long time they were sold in a direct selling capacity. So and Peter could see how successful that was. So you know how Usborne books are sold, much like we are, in a direct selling capacity. Well, Peter did that for quite a long time with his DK, Dorling Kindersley books as well, and he really saw this incredible gap in the market for Neal's Yard Remedies. And he could really see quite early on, when he first took the brand on back in 2005, that there was a real opening for a direct selling arm of the business as well. So with our lovely global head, Denise Bonner, who has sadly retired. She retired last year. Under her guidance, some of you might remember Denise, amazing, formidable woman, they launched NYR Organic. Originally, it was called NYR Home, so occasionally you might still see that dotted around, NYR Home or NYR Organic, which of course is what we are all part of today. Now, that was launched in 2009. It was launched in April 2009. So that is why we celebrated our 10th birthday last April. So we are now 11 and a half. So our leg of the business, if you like, our direct selling leg of the business is 11 and a half years old. The overall business that we're all in the umbrella of, the Neal's Yard Remedies business, is going to be 40 next year. So of course, 2021 in December, we'll see us celebrate our 40th birthday, because Romy set us up in 1981. And I am envisaging, is that a word? Hoping that we are going to see some really, really great 40th birthday celebrations towards the end of next year. So do look out for that, because that's going to be really, really exciting. I should have said, actually, I'm jumping around a bit and I apologise. But I've got all these notes here. I did so much research yesterday. I mean, a lot of it's in my head, but I did so much research yesterday. But I haven't really referred to them at all, but one's just caught my eye and I should have really made it clear. When Romy set up the shop, the original Neal's Yard Remedies shop, it was actually called Neal's Yard I can never say this word, Apothecary, and it was called Neal's Yard Apothecary until 1986. The reason they changed it to Neal's Yard Remedies is because Romy was worried that there might be a bit of an issue with people thinking that they were some kind of registered pharmacy, and of course we're not a registered pharmacy, we're not pharmaceutical in that way, but the word apothecary can conjure up those kind of images, so that's why it was changed to Neal's Yard Remedies, and it has been Neal's Yard Remedies ever since. So I just kind of wanted to make that clear, just in case you were unsure, basically. So so we're now owned by the amazing Kindersley family, who are just so fabulous. And as I said, they have just taken it from strength to strength. They really have done. So I have actually written down here, because I wanted to get these facts right. So now, to date, bringing you right back up to the present day, we have 51 shops in the UK, plus several treatment rooms dotted around wherever. We also sell in many other independent official stockists. So, for example, in the village I live in, there's a really gorgeous little alternative health food shop, and they sell Neal's Yard Remedies officially in there. We also sell through much bigger stockists, people like John Lewis, for example. We sell in certain Waitrose shops, as you know. We also sell a small amount, just a few product lines in the bigger M&S stores, as well as on BA flights, and one or two other kind of British companies like that. We sell all over the world, guys, and I've written it down here. We sell throughout Europe, throughout the Americas, that's both North and South America, and Canada. We sell in Asia, Australia, the Middle East, Japan, Singapore, Taiwan, Thailand. This is just to name a few. In fact, I couldn't even write them all down yesterday. Now, we actually sell in almost all first world countries, except for China and Russia. The reason we don't sell in China and Russia is because of their strict laws. Now, in both those countries, by law, for a product to be on the shelf, it has to have been tested on an animal. We are very, very strict about that. We do not test on animals. None of the ingredients that go into our products are tested on animals, as I'm sure you know. So therefore, we can't sell in those countries, and quite frankly, I'm sure we wouldn't want to. Now, I should say at this point that we do sell in Hong Kong. Now, I used to live in Hong Kong, so I know this for sure, and Hong Kong is also on the list of countries that we do sell in. Now, Hong Kong is, as I'm sure you're all aware, slightly different, and it has slightly different laws to mainland China. So we do sell in Hong Kong, just to clear that up. We do not sell in mainland China. I just kind of wanted to say that. Okay. You really are part of something huge, guys. Neal's Yard Remedies, considering it is such a small family-run initiative by these really crazy, lovely Kindersley family, we literally sell worldwide. And what I love about it so much is the fact that we actually produce everything in our own factory, which is now no longer in Balham. We outgrew the one in Balham. We then opened a beautiful eco factory, which is in Peacemarsh in Dorset, which is near Gillingham in Dorset. And I have been very, very fortunate to have visited and had a bit of a show round the beautiful premises there. And it really is incredible. It's a proper eco factory. Everything from the electricity, which is in there, is completely renewable electricity. Even the water that they use to flush the toilets is rainwater, for example. They've got a living wall. Everything in there is completely eco and completely carbon neutral. As a company, we are carbon neutral, and we have been for quite some time. I'm going to come back to that. So what I love about the fact that our products are all made in that factory, which is not huge. I mean, it's big, but it's not huge, not what you'd expect. And every single jar, every single product, every single bottle, every single tub is checked by hand before it's sent on its way. Now, we only produce each quantity of product in a very, very small amounts, and we do that to ensure its freshness and its efficiency. So please bear that in mind, guys, next time you want to have a whinge about stock levels or something. We are producing product for pretty much all of the Western world. We produce it in one factory, and everything is checked by hand. Okay, so please do be aware of that, because sometimes I think that we kind of forget the grassroots of this business and what it actually comes down to. Okay, also bear in mind, just as a little side thing, the guys at the warehouses, the guys at the factories are working double time at the moment. They're having to obviously fit in with all the COVID guidance. They're having to work at socially distance in very, very difficult conditions. So, you know, if things go out of stock, let's just be a little bit, you know, let's just be a bit understanding. Okay, so it's a beautiful factory. They've actually got a shop there which any member of the public can go to. You can drive up down this beautiful drive. You've got fields of calendula flowers on either side of you, and that is where we grow the calendula that is used in our products. We grow an awful lot of our ingredients actually at Peace Marsh, which is fabulous. They've got gardens, they've got wild meadows, they've got all sorts there. Acres and acres of land. I don't actually know what the acreage is, but acres and acres. Really gorgeous place. You drive up and there's a beautiful shop that you can go and visit as well and have a poke about, you know, and have a little look at the factory. Obviously, you can't go in without appointment, of course, but you can have a little look, have a little photo opportunity. So if you're ever in that part of the world, if you ever find yourself down near Dorset, do a little detour near Gillingham and go and have a little selfie outside the factory. So that takes me on. Now we're kind of back up to the present day, as it were. I just sort of wanted to point out a few things that, you know, not everyone is necessarily aware of. And I wanted to touch on the Tree of Life, the Tree of Life logo. Now, the Tree of Life logo is actually something that Romy decided on. It was Romy that decided we should have blue glass. Now, the reason she chose blue glass was purely by fluke. As you may or may not know, both blue and brown glass reflects 97% of daylight, meaning that it is a natural preservative. Now, really, all products on the shelves today should be in either blue or brown glass, really. And if they were, it would mean that the need for artificial preservatives would be virtually zero. So that's really something to think about, isn't it? Romy literally had the choice of reaching for a blue bottle one day or a brown bottle, and she just so happened to reach for a blue one. Romy is not about aesthetics. It's not about the look of it. She just happened to reach for a blue bottle. I'm glad she did, because I absolutely love the blue bottles. I think they're gorgeous. But yeah, so blue and brown glass reflect 97% of daylight. And actually, I do have a picture. I think you guys saw the picture that I put on with the link of the blue bottles. That one, that's some of the original blue bottles. And then there's a lady in my downline, Wendy Lindsay, who used to run a shop back in the 80s, I believe. And she sent me this really lovely picture, and I'm not sure you're going to be able to see it, but she sent me this really lovely picture of a shelf in her shop from the mid-80s of the old bottles there, bless her. So I hope you can see that, yeah. Yeah, so they're not completely dissimilar, really, to how they are today. Obviously, they've got a bit of a modern twist on them today, and we've changed the labels and stuff. But the Tree of Life was also something that Romy and her team came up with, because, of course, the Tree of Life is that lovely mirror image, isn't it? It's the roots, the hidden roots, if you like, of the tree, reflecting the outer beauty of the leaves and the branches. So you've got kind of the inner foundation and strength, and then the outer beauty. And that is very much kind of what we at Neal's Yard Remedies stand for. We very much sort of believe that the outer beauty embodies the it reflects the inner health of the person. If you are feeling rubbish, let's be honest, on the inside, if you are stressed, if you are not balanced on the inside, frankly, you're not going to look great on the outside. You're just not. You know, you're going to look tired. Your skin's not going to look great. You know, you're going to look sallow around the eyes. You're going to look dehydrated. However, if your body is strong, well hydrated, well nourished, full of nutrients, you are going to look fabulous on the outside. And we really, really do believe that in Neal's Yard Remedies. The roots are just as important as the outer branches and leaves, which is why we have that really gorgeous logo. And we still use that today, obviously, and it's become a massive thing, hasn't it? I mean, you know, that's kind of what we're known for, the Tree of Life logo, and that really lovely circle that says Covent Garden. And I love the fact that it says Covent Garden because, of course, again, that's our roots. That is our roots. That's where we're from, and that's what we should be proud of. You know, that we are British. We're a true British company, and we're still a British company. And I've got to be honest, guys, I'm not a massive kind of, you know, patriotic type person, but I've got to be honest, since the referendum and all the rubbish with Brexit, you know, and now with the pandemic, I actually think now more than ever, it is so important to be supporting British companies. I don't just mean Neal's Yard, but, you know, supporting British and British farmers and everything. And yes, we do buy in a certain amount of ingredients from foreign farmers, of course we do, you know, because we don't grow certain exotic ingredients in the UK. We just don't have the climate for that, sadly. But fundamentally, we are a British company, and all our products are produced in Dorset in the UK. And I just think that's lovely, particularly now more than ever. One of the things I love so much about the company is that we genuinely care so passionately and so deeply about people, about animals, and about the planet. And we really do. Now, I could sit here and I would literally, guys, I would be here till Christmas going on and on and on about all the different initiatives we've got, all the different charities we support. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about each because truly we would be here all night. But I'm just going to touch on a couple. And I just wanted to, for those of you that do have a catalogue in front of you, you might just want to flip to page 7. Now, if you haven't already read through that page, make a note to yourself, maybe later, maybe tomorrow, have a little read through of the page, because honestly, that is just a sample. That's just the tip of the iceberg of the kind of things that we are involved in all over the globe about helping people create better lives for themselves. We have, our mission is to support people's health, and that really does start with the seeds that we sow. And the strict organic farming methods that we endorse. We are incredibly strict about our farming methods, and we actually have people that we employ, Susan Curtis being the main one, and we send Susan and her team out all over the world to make sure that every single grower, every single farmer that we work with is adhering to all our very strict regulations. In return, we have a completely fair trade deal, as I'm sure you can see on the back of the catalogue. We've got our fair trade symbol. We fair trade with everybody that we work with, and actually on average we pay about double the minimum wage in every country that we work in, so that the growers and their families, the farmers and their families, can actually have a really good lifestyle for growing and working with the seeds and the ingredients that they are growing for us. We are very fair like that. On top of that, not only do we give a good wage for what we do, and they're sort of treated fairly and kindly and with respect, but we also give initiatives as well. So for example, not that long ago, we had a beautiful, great big freshwater well built in a, I've forgotten the name of the village, I'm going to be really honest. It was a village in Africa, where some of the ladies that harvest our frankincense were from, and they actually were having to walk miles for fresh water. So not only did we pay them a good wage for what they were doing and getting the frankincense for us, but we then built a freshwater well in their village so that them and their families could access fresh water for them. So we did that sort of on top. That is just one example, guys. You can look on nealsyardremedies.com. You can do some Googling yourself, of course. Have a little read of that page, and you will see about some of the things that we are involved in, because we are so passionate about looking after all our people. We've got several sustainability projects ongoing. There's one at the moment, for example, again, there's just one that I'm picking out of nowhere called the Project Frankincense. And Project Frankincense is an initiative that we're committing to propagating 1,000 frankincense saplings every year for 10 years in Oman. And we are doing, is it Oman or Oman? Sorry if I've said that wrong, apologies. And that is under the guidance of the Environment Society there. So in Oman, I think it is, yeah, 1,000 frankincense saplings every year for 10 years. And that's just one little thing that we're doing in one just small part of the world. And that is because we are, you know, we aim to be so so sustainable, and it's so important that we don't just take from planet Earth. We don't just take the frankincense from the frankincense trees. We need to be giving something back the whole time. For every tree that we might cut down, not that we do cut trees down, but you know what I mean, for every tree that cut down, we would plant at least 2. Do you know what I'm saying? So we're very, very fair in that sense. I've got another little example here, actually. I wrote down, obviously, yesterday. I put, in Kenya, our baobab harvesters are paid double the minimum wage, which has had a massive impact to the lives of their families. And actually, that I believe I got from the catalogue. So that is down there, and that is just the baobab. That's just one ingredient that goes into certain, some of our products. That's just one small ingredient. So we've got a massive thing going, as I'm sure you know, with Save the Bees, and we're massively committed to bee charities. 3%, which probably doesn't sound like very much, but believe me, 3% of all of our Be Lovely sales really does add up. I think to date we've already, in the last 10 years, I think we've already donated £200,000 to bee charities, and that's local sort of British bee charities as well as more global bee charities, because of course without bees, as humans, we can't survive. I think the statistic is if bees die, we've got 4 years, I think it is. People don't realise how important bees and other pollinators are. It's something that I personally am very passionate about. I'm a real bee fan, very passionate about bees. In fact, look, I've got my bee cushion here, just like that. Just happen to have one just to hand. I've got bees all over the house, so I'm not surprised. But yeah, so we are absolutely passionate about the bees, and as I say, we do donate 3% of all Be Lovely sales to bee charities. We were also really, really instrumental about 8-9 years ago in petitioning Downing Street with various other companies. I have to say, it wasn't just us. There was a few companies, and we all were very, very instrumental in petitioning Downing Street to have the neonicoticides banned in the UK. Now, neonicoticides are actually one of the most dangerous pesticides that there is, and now I have to say they have been banned in the UK, and I believe they've been banned in France as well. Unfortunately, until America and China ban them, we're certainly not out of the woods, but obviously small steps, and it's incredibly positive that they have been banned here, because they literally were killing pollinators massively. So that's just another little thing that we do. We also work, as I'm sure you know, with the World Land Trust, and since 2012 we've used carbon balanced paper and card for all our gift boxes. So every time you buy a little boxed soap, every time you buy one of our gorgeous gift sets, so they're over there all boxed up, so I won't get one out, but you know what I mean, the gorgeous limited edition Christmas gift sets, they are in completely carbon balanced paper and card, which has been certified by the Woodland Trust. Now, to date, we have protected over 1 million square metres of endangered forest, and we work very, very closely with the Woodland Trust. Now, I've got to be honest, guys, not sure if you all know this, it was certainly something that I found out a couple of years ago. Even our catalogues are printed using vegetable dye. We don't even use harmful mainstream dyes with our catalogues. It's all vegetable dye. They really do think about every tiny little detail, and that is one of the things I love so much about Neal's Yard Remedies. You're not going to find many other mainstream beauty houses that are thinking about the dye that is used for the printing of their catalogues and their leaflets, etc. So this really, really, goes down to every last detail. So, we were the very first company to be certified organic. Now, as I'm sure you all know by now, we are certified by the Soil Association, and we have been since 1991. Now, we were the very first UK company to be certified by them, which is kind of amazing. And now they certify a lot of companies, don't they? A lot of well-known brands. Just off the top of my head, I mean, I've just had a cup of tea actually, and I had a pucker tea, because they did one that we don't do. So I quite like the pucker teas. They're certified by the Soil Association. You'd be surprised actually at what is certified by them, but we were the first, which is really quite amazing. And as I say, we have been since 1981. Now, we are carbon neutral as well, and actually we have been carbon neutral for 12 years now. In 2008, we became the very first UK retailer to be certified carbon neutral. Our net carbon emissions are completely zero, completely. And that is something, bearing in mind how big we are, how global we are. As I've said, we sell in most first world countries globally. I don't just mean in Europe, I'm talking all over the globe. But we have a carbon neutral standing, and we have done since 2008. And actually, back in 2008, it doesn't sound that long ago, but actually things have come on leaps and bounds. Back in 2008, people weren't talking about carbon neutral so much as they are now. They only really started talking about that probably from 2012, 2014 onwards. So we were real pioneers back then. And we have been carbon neutral since then. We have a precautionary rule. If in doubt, we leave it out. If there is any ingredient that is even the slightest question mark over, something that maybe we're just not sure about, or there's been a slight issue with, gets left out, and they will pull the line. And I have seen it happen. I remember once years ago, they stopped us selling frankincense hydrating cream for about 6 weeks. Now, as you can imagine, guys, that didn't go down very well with the consultants, but I was really proud, funnily enough, despite the fact that I had a few disappointed customers, because I could honestly, hand on heart, say to them, the company have pulled frankincense hydrating cream temporarily because there's one ingredient that they don't feel matches up to their very, very high standards within it. Certainly wouldn't do you any harm, but it doesn't quite meet their high standards, so the whole line is being pulled until they can find an alternative. And we couldn't sell it for about 6 weeks. So that is what I mean. They would rather, as a company, lose money, and believe me, pulling a popular cream like frankincense hydrating cream, which is in the top 10, it's always been in the top 10 of our best-selling products. Pulling a cream like that, particularly 8, 9 years ago, whenever it was, when we had less products to sell anyway, was a big thing. That they would rather lose the money than sell something that they weren't 100% happy with. And that is the company you're working with, guys. That is how incredible they are, and that's what makes them stand apart. As I said before, we've got 100% renewable electricity throughout the whole business. So that's not just at Peace Marsh. That is in all the offices. We've still got offices in Neal's Yard, in Covent Garden. We've got all the shops that we've got throughout the UK. Throughout the whole business, we work with 100% renewable electricity. In 2014, we were the first beauty brands to receive 100 out of 100 by the Ethical Company Organisation. Now, the Ethical Company Organisation, you're very welcome to Google it. Again, it's always really important, guys, that you do your own research. You don't just, believe everything that's sort of fed to you by people like me. The Ethical Company Organisation, a completely independent company, and they voted us 100 out of 100. You don't get any better than that. And we were the very first company to ever receive that accolade back in 2014. So that really was quite amazing. Now, I do want to talk to you a little bit about our ethics, because I think it is so, so important. And I actually want to talk to you a little bit about the Good Shopping Guide, if you don't mind. Now, I don't know if you guys have heard of the Good Shopping Guide. Again, it's just another completely independent guide. They're actually I believe they're a charity, though please don't quote me on that. Nothing to do with us. They're not affiliated with any one brand. They're a little bit, the only way I can describe them is they're a little bit like Which, but they work on an ethical basis. So I did write down, actually. Okay, so yeah, this is what it is. So the Good Shopping Guide researches each company thoroughly. Okay, it takes the consumer through all the ethical factors that they may want to consider when making decisions about which products to buy. It is completely independent and not affiliated with any one company. And there are different sections within it. So, for example, there is fashion, for example. There is electricals, all the different section of items and products that one might buy in the UK. We, of course, come into the health and beauty section. It's got a really lovely, easy to use traffic light system. Actually, I really like it, green, amber and red. Right at the top of the green, you can get 100 out of 100. Everything's done out of 100. And obviously then you go right down to 1 out of 100. Anything over, I think, 80 is considered green. And then you've got the amber section, and then you've got the red. Again, make a note, guys. It's called the Good Shopping Guide. I'd highly recommend that you go in and have a little play and do your own research and do take a look at their website. They are really, really good. Now, what I love about the Good Shopping Guide is because it's independent. I can say to my customers, no, you go and have a look, you go and check out, you know, the Good Shopping Guide, and then you come back to me and decide what you want to do. Because then that's not me shouting about how amazing Neal's Yard Remedies are. That is them doing their own research. Recently, I had a lady who was umming and ahhing about whether to join us, Neal's Yard Remedies, as a consultant, or whether she was going to join the Body Shop. And I just said to her, you know what, why don't you go away and do your own research, because obviously they're both very long-standing British companies. And I pointed her to a few websites. One of them was the Good Shopping Guide. She came back and guess what? She joined us. Now, I am going to read out a few results to you, not because I'm here to denigrate any other company, because I am not, and I'm not going to start getting into a discussion about different companies. That is not what I'm here to do tonight. That would be highly unprofessional. However, this information is available for anyone to see online if they go into the Good Shopping Guide. So I'm just going to kind of read out a few to you, just to give you a bit of an idea of where we sit compared to some of the other brands, okay? Of course, greenwashing, what they call greenwashing these days, is a massive problem. It really is a massive problem. And words, and that's all they are, words like pure and fresh and natural are bandied around all the time. They actually mean nothing. It's a bit like when you go and buy a loaf of bread, for example, and it says on the packet, farmhouse fresh. What does that mean? What does farmhouse fresh actually mean? Or country life? What does country life actually mean? It doesn't mean that that bread has been created in a lovely country kitchen, you know, in the rolling fields of Wiltshire. No, no, no. It's been produced in a factory and it's probably full of rubbish. The word farmhouse fresh, country life, all these kind of things mean nothing. They are marketing terms, and the marketing terms are used on products as well. In fact, they're used probably more so on beauty products. So that's why I love the Good Shopping Guide so much, because it really kind of cuts through all the crap, if you don't mind me saying, and gets to the real nitty gritty. Okay, so with skincare, we, Neal's Yard Remedies, are right at the top of the green in the Good Shopping Guide. We are 100 out of 100 in the Good Shopping Guide, right at the very top of the green. I have to say, green people are also right at the top of the green as well, which is brilliant. They've also got 100 out of 100, so that's great for them. Again, I'm just going to start reading a few others for you. This is just information that anybody can get, okay? Tropic, who's one of our competitors, as you know, they did very well, but they got 92, so they're still in the green. They got 92. Weleda got 88. Then we go down to Amber. There was a lot more than this, by the way. I couldn't read out the whole list to you tonight, as you can appreciate. I've just picked out a few. Clarins, which me as a therapist, I'm trained in Clarins. I love Clarins as a product, always have done. Absolutely swear by Clarins before I started working for Neal's Yard. Clarins got 54. Then interestingly, the Body Shop, Avon, Liz Earle and Boots number 7 all got 50. So they were right in the middle of the amber at 50. Sadly, and I do think it's sad, right at the bottom of the red zone was Kiehl's, which surprised me a bit, I've got to be honest, because, you know, you think of Kiehl's as maybe being a little bit more ethical than that. L'Oreal, surprise, surprise. Simple as well, amongst others. Now, Simple, bearing in mind the name is Simple, and if you think about their adverts, it's all very natural, green and white packaging. They got 35 out of 100. Okay, so that really, really does tell you something. I then thought that I would have a little look at the vitamins, because they do vitamins as well. Of course, we sell vitamins, don't we? So we are in the vitamin category of the Good Shopping Guide website. Again, we are 100 out of 100. There wasn't that many that had 100 out of 100 in the vitamin section, I've got to be honest. Holland and Barrett, I was surprised, pleasantly surprised. They got 83, and I was pleased about that. I have to say, I thought they might be lower, but Holland and Barrett got 83. 7C's got 54. They were in amber. And then right down in the red, guys, there was Bassett's, there was Boots' Own Vitamins, there was Barocca, and there was Sanatogen. Now, I could talk forever about vitamins and what goes into mainstream vitamins and what doesn't, and why it's so important to invest in good quality vitamins, blah, blah, blah. That's a whole other Zoom. That's a whole other training session. But that says a lot. Okay, guys, even with our discount, I know that our vitamins, which are, by the way, made by Viridian, are expensive. I know they're expensive, but believe me, they are expensive for a reason. They are really, really good quality. They absorb into your body within 15 minutes. They, the little caplets that they're held in are vegetable caplets, so they absorb completely. They're not held together with fillers or binders or glues or anything like that, which most of the mainstream ones are, and they are full of 100% active ingredients. So worth buying. Okay. So it's definitely worth having a little look at that section. Sorry, at the good shopping guide. I'd highly recommend you do that. I would highly recommend, if you are interested in having a little look on nealsyardremedies.com and looking at the good work that they do. When I was looking sort of back in May, when I was doing a whole training thing about World Bee Day, which is in May, on the 20th of May, and I tend to talk a lot about bees in May because of, you know, how passionate I am about them, and you know, pollinating and everything. On the site then they had like a whole thing about the bee charities that they support. I'm hoping it's still there. Do go and have a look at that. Sounds silly, sounds obvious. Read the catalogue cover to cover. You will learn so much about who we are as a company, not just about the products, but you will learn about the family that own us, for example. You will learn about Peace Marsh in Gillingham. You will learn about, you know, why we're organic, why it's important to be organic, what does it mean to be organic, and you will learn so much about all the initiatives we have and charities that we support. nealsyardremedies.com, as I've said, is another fantastic resource, actually, as is Wikipedia. You can look up Nicholas Saunders and Romy Fraser as well and find out a little bit more about them as well if you want to. Obviously, as I said, I could literally be here till Christmas, you know, going into the real nitty-gritty of Nicholas Saunders, of Romy Fraser, of Peter Kindersley. I could have taken us right back even further, talking about Thomas Neal and William III, but you know, I've only got so much time. It is 9:10. I have now been talking for 1 hour and 10 minutes. I hope to God I haven't bored anybody. For those of you that are still with me, which seems to be most of you, thank you. Thanks for sticking around. You are very welcome to ask me any questions, either in the chat or just by coming off mute. I'll stay on for another sort of 10 minutes or so. Can't promise I'll answer all the questions. I might not necessarily have all the answers, but I will do my best. And while you're doing that, I will have a quick look in the chat, because obviously I can't read the chat and train at the same time. But guys, did you find that useful? Was that helpful? Yeah, some thumbs up there. Good. Just having a quick read through chat. Oh yeah, someone's saying about the training days. They really are amazing, guys. And honestly, when COVID is over and they start doing physical training again, just do it. The training is free, as I said. Obviously, you do have to pay for your own travel, of course. You have to get yourself to the training, of course. But even the travel is tax deductible, because, of course, you put it as a business expense against your business. And yeah, just go, just make a day of it, you know, make a weekend of it, whatever it might be. It is incredible. I'm so blessed. I feel so glad that I got to have those training sessions in Covent Garden. You know, it's brilliant. And like I say, if you happen to be in the Dorset area, go down, go to Peace Marsh. You won't be able to go into the factory itself, obviously, for health and safety reasons, but you can certainly have a poke about, look in the shop, have a wander, see the calendula fields. Dana's just said about the fab pizza place. Yeah, that's right, Dana. And actually, Dana and I had a really good pizza there once together, didn't we? It's a really good pizza place in Neal's Yard. Right. Someone's saying they've made loads of notes. Oh, bless you. I'm glad. Okay, good. We all seem quite positive. Thank you. That's great. Oh, thank you, Amy. Yeah, I am quite passionate about Neal's Yard. I've got to be honest. You know, not only does Neal's Yard support me and my family, you know, and it wasn't that long ago, I was a single mum supporting 2 children on my own. And it was Neal's Yard that kept us going, you know, I've got to be honest. So from a completely personal point of view, yeah, I am passionate about Neal's Yard Remedies. I earn a good living every month with this company, you know, and it's easy. I work from home, you know, I work from my phone and from my laptop, and it's easy. I get to do all the school runs, I get to do the pickups, I get to do everything with my kids and still earn a really good wage with this company. There is money to be made with the company, but I'm also passionate about the company because of its history, because of its magic, because we're carbon neutral, because we're genuinely organic, and we're certified by the Soil Association, and we were the first people to be certified by the Soil Association. And everything that we've got, everything that goes on in the background that a lot of people just don't really even realize, you know. And yeah, it makes me passionate, it really does. Okay, if there's no other questions or anything, guys, then you are all free to go. But thank you so much for joining me tonight. There was quite a few of you on. I really do appreciate it. Have a good evening. Have a good evening. And don't forget the next training. Like I say, Gemma's doing a fabulous one. I think it's next Tuesday night on Know Your Nasties. That's going to be a really good one. Really, really good one. Particularly having said what I've just said about the good shopping guide. You know, that would be a great one. Gemma's fabulous when it comes to that. And Pamela King is doing a really good one on our top 10 cult products. And I believe that is either this Thursday or next Thursday, but look out for that too. See you later, guys. Take care. Bye.